and loving daughter-in-law. And we also see that in her saying that she would go back with Naomi, which was more 2 weeks ago that we looked at this, or longer ago, but anyways, was one thing that I didn't really bring out that I should have brought out, is when she told Naomi that no matter what, she would not go back to Moab. One of the things that she said is, your God will be my God. Okay? I mean, that is something that is crucial. That is critical when it comes to that. I really believe that, not necessarily, I don't know if it was necessarily at that moment, but I believe that she was already at that point what we would call a Christian. I mean, she is, because she is saying at that point that she has left and she is going to leave the gods of Moab behind. Okay, so that is very crucial in knowing this. And even though she was and looked like a foreigner, as that's the word out of the Bible, that it was used. Even though she was that, it shows us that, even in the Old Testament, so many people are who do not understand, can be quick to jump on and say, oh, well, if they were not an Israelite, when it comes to the Old Testament, when they're not an Israelite, that means they're not going to heaven. Okay? A lot of people are quick to jump on that when it comes, since that is before Christ had died, before Christ came, before he died and all of that. Can't think of the fancy term that's I can't think of what it is right now, but anyways, because it's before that, a lot of people jump on the bandwagon in that sense. Oh, if they're not Israelite, that means that not born Israelite, essentially. Okay, they are not as what we call today Christians. However, when she said that, you also notice that she also said, your people, my people. So she is also now at this point, she is saying Moab, okay? She is leaving all of that behind. What does that also mean? All of her friends, all of her family as well. She is, as we are commanded as Christians to do, when we get saved, we are to put off the old man. Yeah. We are to put that behind, and many times that ends up, because of our Christianity, it can sever ties even with the closest of friends and closest of relatives. And that is what she is saying. I am going with you. I am going to stay with you. Your God is my God. I am now going to consider myself, if you want to use this term, an Israelite, but also you could say, she's saying, I am a Christian. I don't have a place in Moab anymore. Okay? So we see not just dedication to her mother-in-law, wanting to take care of her mother-in-law, but it goes beyond that when it comes to her faith and her Christianity and her walk there. We also saw that she was a very hard worker, and we will see that more tonight. And then with Boaz, we saw that he was a great master. Okay, his servants respected him, but even more on that, he respected, and that respect is not just a flimsy respect. That is a loving respect. He respected his servants. And he did not consider his servants or treat them in the sense of, oh, your servants, you're below me. And we saw that right towards the end of last week when it shows that he sat down with them. He passed the same dishes of food, as you know, many times if you're sitting down, especially if it's a good time would be Thanksgiving. We're coming up on Thanksgiving this week. You're sitting down with possibly with a bunch of family. A lot of times the easiest way, we'll say two easy ways, one of which for everybody to get the food is one dish at a time. Passing the dishes around. First here comes a bowl of potatoes, mashed potatoes. You got to scoop them out and pass that on. Okay, that is what he is doing. He doesn't have his own fancy food set aside for him, and he's just eating that while his servants eat servant food. Food not so good. He is right there eating the same quality of food as his servants. He considered them not just servants, but he considered them really family. We saw that he was a compassionate man in the sense of how he spoke to Ruth, even on their first meeting, their very first interaction together. He spoke kindly to her, and he wanted the best. He wanted the best for her that he could provide in that situation at that time. Okay, and of course, and then he also did not. He did not treat Ruth differently in a negative way because of the fact that she was a Moabite by birth, and thus may have looked different in the sense of possibly a skin maybe a little different color or other features in that sense. And then we're also going to see, we saw a little bit last week, we're going to see a little bit more tonight, how that Boaz was a godly man as well. So Ruth chapter 2 is where we are picking up tonight from last week. So one thing I want to point out first with Boaz, when it comes to him being a godly man, I want to show you something in verse 12. This is him speaking. The Lord repay your work, and a full reward be given you by the Lord God of Israel, under whose wings you have come for refuge. The reason why I'm pulling this verse out, and I want to show you this, is it can be, especially to people who may not fully understand exactly everything that's going on, might be new to Christianity. When you read that verse and what he is saying, at first it's saying, okay, the Lord repay your work. Okay, he's talking about God. It can be easy to, for some people to I'll say, get on the bandwagon or think that at first he is trying to lift himself up, being that he is the one that's providing for her. Okay, that is not the case at all. I want to make sure to stress that and point that out. He is simply, the way that he is saying this and the way and what he is meaning here is, the Lord is blessing you. I am just a tool for God. Okay? God is using what he has blessed me with. He's using the blessings he's given me to bless you. Okay? It's nothing of him trying to lift himself up at all. He is giving all praise to God, and he's just saying, God's using me as his tool right now to bless you. And then, so in verse 14 is where we saw the part where they sat together. Okay, and they all ate together and passed the same food, including Ruth. Okay, Ruth was there as well. We do notice, too, I want to point something out about Ruth, is that one thing about her, there was not a greedy bone in her body at all. Okay? We don't know at this point, because, you know, they were, her and Naomi were on their own to provide for themselves at this point. Okay? We don't know when the last time was that that she may have had a good, proper meal. However, one thing I want to point out, right towards the end of the verse, verse 14, and she ate and was satisfied and kept some back. That is saying what she said, what she did is she ate her fill, as in she ate what was what she needed right then. She ate only what her body needed and kept some back. Okay? That is not saying that she took some of the food and, you know, tried to stick it in her pockets or whatever. Okay? That's saying she held herself back. She was not being gluttonous or greedy. She was not looking at it going, oh my gosh, this is wonderful food. I don't know when the next time is I'm going to be able to eat this stuff. Okay? She ate only exactly what her body needed. Okay? And we're going to see this same sort of thing about her in a couple minutes as well. As far as only taking what she truly needed. Okay? Let's see. Verse 15. Let's pick up in verse 15. When she rose up to glean, Boaz commanded his young men, saying, let her glean even among the sheaves, and do not reproach her. Also, let grain from the bundles fall purposely for her. Leave it that she may glean, and do not rebuke her. So she gleaned in the field until evening, and beat out what she had gleaned, and it was about an ephah of barley. So what we are seeing here, as she goes out, you notice, okay, she also is not trying to hang around, okay? She's not, oh, the master is here, you know, oh, she's not even at this point thinking in the way of romance or trying to go after Boaz in that sort of sense, okay? She is right away, as soon as the meal is done, what is she doing? Right back to work, okay? Her 30-minute lunch break is up. She's going right back to work. She's not hanging around the break room a little bit longer. She gets right back to work. And Boaz, though, whether at this very moment or not, he's whether he knows it or not, that how closely related he is to Naomi and thus Ruth through marriage. He decides he is going to do something a little special for her, and that is he tells his servants, as you are gleaning yourselves, you know, first of all, let her glean close by you. We mentioned that last week. Let her glean close to you. And in fact, I want you to purposefully drop some of your barley that you have gleaned. Now, as we look at this, though, a couple different commentaries I read in said that it is possible that she did not even pick up what they had dropped, because that would not technically be gleaning. And it says that she gleaned until evening. Okay, if she had been picking up everything they had been dropping, she most likely would have had way more than she would have been able to handle well before evening. Okay, now this is speculation, a little bit of reading between the lines, if you want to say, which you do have to be careful of that when it comes to the Bible, when it comes to God's Word. So you can take that as you will there. But we know that she was a hard worker because she worked until late into the evening. And then when it came to that, though, it wasn't a thing of, okay, I'm tired, I am heading home. Right there in the field, she didn't. It says she beat out what she had gleaned. So what we're going to be looking at in a little bit, if time allows, is that she was what did by hand in the field what they would do on the threshing floor when they had it, when they were doing the whole harvest, a lot more of it. She did in the field before she left. And it said that she gathered about an ephah of barley. Now, there is a lot of speculation, and I think when it comes down to it, nobody knows for certain exactly how much an ephah is. I have done a lot of research on this, trying to figure out exactly how much an ephah was. Everything you look at, everything you read, everything is different. And so, needless to say, though, is that what I can gather from this is that no matter what, okay, she's taking home what would have been a good amount of barley. Okay, not just a let's just say not just a meal's worth or something. Okay, an ephah would have been a decent amount of barley, is what she went home with. And when she the first thing that she did, okay, she did not, when she left there, she did not go and take what she wanted out of it and then took the rest to Naomi. That is not what she did, first off. Says she, verse 18, she took it up, went into the city, and her mother-in-law saw what she had gleaned. Okay? She took the full amount first to Naomi, to show Naomi, this is what was able to harvest. This is how the Lord has blessed, because she was coming back with very good chance, more than what they expected. Being especially that, remember, what I explained last week, with her being allowed to go in close behind his servants gleaning, would have meant there was more to glean, because it would not have been eaten by or harvested by animals or even other people. Okay, she was given truly dibs. She was given first choice. She was given the best in that situation, and she was coming to show her mother-in-law, I did exactly what I said I was going to do. I went, I worked, and God has provided for us. I have given you I'm showing you, I have kept my word. So then it's after that she says in verse, in the middle of 18, so she brought out and gave to her what she had kept back after she had been satisfied. So after they had, once she had exactly what she needed, she gave the rest to Naomi. Okay, it wasn't a thing. It's almost opposite of what so many people tend to do. Instead of saying, okay, Naomi, this is enough for you. I'm the one that worked hard. I'm going to keep the rest. It's the exact opposite. Remember how I said we'd look at it and we'd see? It's another example of her not being greedy. Okay? She is, at this point, she's just like, okay, this is what I need. This is what my body needs. All the rest I am giving to my mother-in-law. And it's at this point, after she has gotten it, that Naomi decides, well, you know what? You know, like any parent, okay, really would. You know, if you get home, well, I mean, not just a parent, but even a spouse. You know, at home, in the evening, at the dinner table. So, how was your day? You know, where did you go today? You know, what did you, if you are like I'll use myself for an example. Even though I am building maintenance, okay, that really is, you could say, a broad term for what I do. Because what is under building maintenance? It is plumbing, electrical, flooring, sheetrock, painting. Okay, there is a lot of stuff under that. So that being the case, when Cassie asks me at night, so how was your day? What did you do today? She would be, if I was just saying, oh, I did building maintenance, she'd go,
What's that?
and, you know, it's, you never know. I mean, there's a lot of professions like this, but especially, I can say, vouch for mine, you never know what is going to happen. Not this past week, the week before, Friday, towards the end of the day, it's like, oh, okay, a little bit of time left before the weekend. And at that point, I'm not going into when I'm on call. So I'm like, I'm not on call. This is going to be wonderful. About 2 hours left to the day. I get a call. Okay, this is going to be easy. Oh, it's just a clogged toilet. No, it wasn't. It was a major septic backup. Okay, you never know what's going to happen. But anyways, I don't know how I got to there.
You followed the rabbit hole.
Yes, I did. I followed that rabbit right down the hole. Verse 19. And her mother-in-law, this is Naomi, said to her, "Where have you gleaned today, and where did you work? Blessed be the one who took notice of you." Okay, she's asking her, finding out, where'd you go? You know, not just what area. You know, did you meet? You know, do you know who the owner of the field is where you went? So she told her mother-in-law with whom she had worked, and said, "The man's name with whom I worked today is Boaz." One other thing I want to point out too, that's showing the type of man Boaz was, okay? Not only, and we're going to see this in a little bit as well, not only did he sit and eat with his servants, he worked right alongside them. And we see that from what, because you notice, Ruth did not say, "The man with whom I worked for today." The man with whom I worked today is Boaz. Meaning she worked with him. Now it does not mean she was shoulder to shoulder, but it's showing he was out there working with them at the same time as them. He was out there in the fields. Even though he was a wealthy field owner, he did not have soft hands like many field owners would have had, okay? His skin most likely did not have that pale pallor of many of the rich people who, just always stayed inside, didn't want to change the color of their skin, they were just, even the men were just too, I'll use the word, they were too sissy for that, Okay, they were big sissies. Not Boaz, okay? He worked right out there. He very most likely had really good tan himself, tough skin, working out there right in the fields along with his servants. And it is at this point that Naomi really connects the dots, and she realizes, oh, wait a second. And I really believe this is a turning point for Naomi and her frame of mind and her countenance, okay? In the sense of, remember, she lost her husband. She lost her 2 sons. She has now come back to Israel, and she is, I'm not sure if we're going to get quite far enough to see it tonight, but she is also, when she comes back, she is essentially coming back into her husband's debt. Okay? Essentially, I'll call it a mortgage, okay? She comes back, and now she has this, she's a widow, okay? We will look at that, like I said, I don't think we're going to get there tonight. But, so here she is, she's not in a good place. Remember, when she came back, she even said, don't call me Naomi. Naomi was a happy, pleasant name. Had that sort of a meaning. She instead, let's see, I don't know if I have it in my notes for tonight with the way my brain works. Right there, Mara. Do not, in chapter 1 and verse 20, she said, do not call me Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty has dealt very bitterly with me. Okay, when she first comes back, she is in a bitter frame of mind. She, in fact, by saying, call me Mara, she's essentially saying, instead of calling me happy, call me bitter. That's essentially what she is saying. And she is believing that, that God has been punishing her, in the sense of her husband dying and her losing her 2 sons. She believes that God, and because of that, she has become a very depressed and bitter woman. And through it all, I wish we had the time tonight, so that way I could really connect the dots good with you tonight. But as to why I am saying this, and why I think this is the first, but one good thing, this is the first time we are seeing Naomi speaking of God, or praising God, I'll put it that way. This is the first time we actually see Naomi doing it. Verse 20, then Naomi said to her daughter-in-law, blessed be he of the Lord, who has not forsaken his kindness to the living and the dead. So she is first saying 2 things, okay? She's saying, blessed be he, okay, meaning Boaz, okay? So she is praising Boaz for doing this thing, okay? But the way that she is saying, speaking of it, and saying of the Lord, it's sort of a 2-in-1 sort of deal. It's not just praising and being thankful for Boaz, it's also giving praise to God in this situation. Because, so I'm going to read that again. Blessed be he of the Lord who has not forsaken his kindness to the living and the dead. And Naomi said to her, this man is a relation of ours, one of our close relatives. And at this point, Ruth says in verse 21, Ruth the Moabitess said, he also said to me, you shall stay close by my young men, until they have finished all my harvest. And Naomi said to Ruth, her daughter-in-law, it is good, my daughter, that you go out with his young women, and that people do not meet you in any other field. Excuse me. So she stayed close by the young women of Boaz to glean until the end of barley harvest and wheat harvest, and she dwelt with her mother-in-law. So when she is saying this, I want to point something out. Naomi telling Ruth to stay put, okay, that's essentially what she said. Yes, he said to glean from there and to only glean from there. You need to do that, okay? This is not just a simple thing of, oh, this is an easy way for us to get fed. If he's this kind with you right now, I know the type of man Boaz is, so I know he's going to continue this sort of thing. Naomi is not doing this just in that sense of just thinking about her stomach, okay? In that sense, okay? That's not what she is, that's not the only reason. This is also, okay, if Ruth was to go to another field, that is also going to play against Ruth's, against her character, really, okay? And it would not look, it would not look good in Boaz's sight, okay? It would be, especially in that culture, being that he has said, you just come here. You will always have enough. By her going elsewhere, that comes into a thing of she does not believe and she does not trust. Thus, it is then going on him saying, that's like an insult, a slur against him by doing that. Okay? So this is making sure to stay in good graces. Now, many times that we will see, in different parts of the Bible, as you go from chapter to chapter. Remember, the Bible originally was not in chapters, okay? They did not have the numbered chapters. They did not have the numbered verses, okay? It was written as a regular, more of a regular book, you could say, just each individual book. Or as in times with like Paul and such, was letters, okay? Many times, chapter to chapter, it flows and it's all the same, we'll say the same thought process, same exact time, that sort of thing. Between chapter 2 and chapter 3 is not. You have a small time frame that has gone past. And that is roughly about 2 months. Okay, we know this simply because the first time, which is what we just looked at, the first time Ruth went in, it was at the very beginning of barley harvest. Barley harvest then, for the large fields, harvest would take about 2 months to complete. And they also, and for anyone that knows anything about planting, you might think, oh, wait a second. Once it's ready, it's got to be harvested quick. Well, nowadays, with all of our, our farming equipment, we can we can plant tons of stuff all at the same time and harvest it quickly. Whereas if you were to plant everything at the same time and it takes you 2 months to go out and do it all, half of it would be junk before you could even get to it and harvest it, right? Well, the way that they would do it is they would do it in steps. They would know, okay, they timed everything right when it came perfect, when it came to planting. they would say, okay, this section of the field we know takes about this long to harvest. So they plant that, and then they would wait that time frame. Let's say it was, okay, this section would take 1 week. They'd plant that section, wait a week to plant the next section, and so on, okay? So that way, as they would finish a section in harvest, that next section would come ready for them. And these large barley fields that they had took roughly 2 months. So we know at this point, as we go into chapter 3, it's been about 2 months. So it's at this point that right in verse 1, Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, "My daughter, shall I not seek security for you, that it may be well with you?" Okay, there is actually a lot of meaning in that. Okay? This is Naomi saying, look, I love what you are doing for me. I love how you are going out there and have been working your butt off these past 2 months to provide for me and take care of me. However, I'm an old woman. I'm at the point, okay, I'm not going to remarry, so that being the case, when I'm gone, by the time I'm gone, then you are going to be going into that point in your life where then you're going to be essentially too old to remarry. I don't want that for you. I don't want you to remain unmarried. I don't want you to remain in that state for the rest of your life because of me. Naomi is looking out for the well-being of her daughter-in-law. She is looking out for the well-being of Ruth and saying, look, what's most important is figuring out your, as it says, your security, your future. Okay? You don't have to. You are still young, and being that you are widowed, you are allowed, even in the Israelite nation, you are allowed to remarry. And now it has to be into the same family. It would not be just a random family, okay? But you are allowed to remarry. And I'm sure at this point, after a couple months, and we'll see it in a minute here, that Boaz and Ruth have become close. I don't want to say close in a intimate nature, but they've gotten to know each other, a little bit better, after a couple months. They're not so much new to each other. So Naomi says, goes and decides, you know what, this is what is going to be, this is what I'm going to tell you to do. I'm going to give you instruction, Ruth. He is a wonderful man. He is a godly man. I know of his integrity. Okay, everyone knows of Boaz's integrity. Okay, he will do right by you. Verse 2, now Boaz, whose young women you were with, is he not our relative? In fact, he is winnowing barley tonight at the threshing floor. Therefore wash yourself and anoint yourself, put on your best garment, and go down to the threshing floor. But do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. Then it shall be when he lies down that you shall notice the place where he lies, and you shall go in, uncover his feet, and lie down, and he will tell you what you should do. And she said to her, all that you say to me, I will do. Wow. I mean, even after this time that she has been taking care of Naomi and that, Ruth still, you want to talk about obedient. Okay? And through obedience, the respect she has for her mother-in-law. But so what Naomi is, and what Naomi is telling her to do is going down. However, this is something to be able to, how can I put this? To be able to retain Boaz's appearance of integrity, okay, and that to the public as well, this needs to be done in a more, I don't want to use the term intimate. It needs to be done in a private way, okay? Because we don't want there to be, I mean, if I was to be seen walking out of being, especially now that so many people in Bells Falls know me, and know me as know me as as preacher Nate or pastor Nate, and that or they know me that I go to this church, I preach at this church, all that sort of thing. If they were to see me walking out of PK's, for those who don't know, that's a bar. If they were to see me walking out of the bar, especially, at like during happy hour or whatever, okay, during a real or karaoke night or something like that, okay, what is the first thought these people are going to say? Oh, or they're going to think, oh, look at Nate. He says he's a pastor. He says he's a preacher. Oh gosh, he goes to the bars. I may have been in there handing out tracts, inviting people to church. I may not have touched a drop of alcohol. But what's the picture I am giving walking out? So that's one of the things Naomi is protecting here by telling her to do this in a private manner, so that way no one else can see, is to retain the virtue of Ruth as well as the integrity of Boaz. So that way people won't see this and go, oh, wait a second, and people are very quick to jump to conclusions, okay? And so she says you need to go in, wait until he has gone to bed. Now, Naomi also knows one thing about Boaz. Naomi knows that he is a hard worker and that he doesn't, that he does not just, as soon as he's done, he doesn't have a servant or I'll use the term, doesn't have a carriage come around and take him home to his house. She knows the type of man he is, and in the sense of he is going to be staying there somewhere and bedding down. It says when you do that, go to him. However, you need to respect him. You need to keep your virtue. Uncover his feet and lay at his feet. And the process of laying at his feet is in the sense of her saying, I am your servant. Okay? I am not worthy of you. I am not worthy of your love. I am not worthy of your grace. I am not worthy of all the blessings that you have given me. However, I am at your mercy, and I have a petition or a request. Okay, so she does it. It says she went down to the threshing floor and did according to all that her mother-in-law instructed her. And after Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was cheerful, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of grain. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. I want to explain a little something. Oh gosh, we're already at time. I'll go a couple more minutes. When it says here that Boaz has eaten and drunk and his heart was cheerful, this does not mean that he has had too much to drink and that he's a little drunk, so he's a happy drunk. This cheerful is meaning he is fully sober. He is still in control, in charge of all of his senses,